What is Balance Scorecard and how it helps companies identify and improve their internal operations by using this Balance Scorecard? We'll also look at some key four perspectives of this Balance Scorecard. So don't go anywhere else. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy this video on Balance Scorecard. Balance Scorecard is a management system that translates vision and mission of any organization into actions. As of today, approximately 70% of the organizations have implemented Balance Scorecard in their organization. It was developed in 1990s by Robert Kaplan and David P. Norton. The word balance means that it balances both the financial and the non-financial measure rather than just focusing on the financial measures to get a more balanced view of the performance. Lot of companies or organizations in the past focus only on the financial measures, but the financial measures will tell you a story about what has happened in the past, which makes them little bit inadequate. For example, if I want to increase my profit, so either I have to increase my selling price or I have to decrease my product cost. In this case, I am not bothered about whether this increased selling price or decrease in the product cost, either by lowering the product quality, has any bearing on the customer satisfaction or my internal employees motivation or internal processes. This is where the balance scorecard comes into picture. So balance scorecard looks at the balance of any business from four perspectives: financial perspective, internal business perspective, innovative and learning perspective, and customer perspective. So in short, balance scorecard adds the non-financial measures like internal business perspective, innovation, learning perspective, and the customer perspective to the financial perspective and then plot it in the scorecard. In short, it is a business performance measurement scorecard which tells us how the company is performing and where it needs to improve. Let us look at the four perspectives of the balance scorecard. So the balance scorecard starts by defining your vision and mission, and then look at the key performance indicators from four different perspectives. Financial perspective as to how do we look at our shareholders. The internal business perspective, what we must excel at. The innovative and the learning perspective, can we continue to improve and create values. And from a customer perspective, how do customers see us? So when implemented properly, each of these perspectives contain four subparts consisting of objectives, what strategies or objectives you have, measures, as in how progress for that particular objective will be measured, targets, what are your set targets for those objectives, and initiatives, what initiatives you have taken towards that particular objective. Now let us understand each of these perspectives in more detail. Financial perspective. So the financial perspective of the balance scorecard looks at how do we look to our shareholders and what financial goals are desired from shareholder perspective. Financial perspectives are usually easy to define and measure. Let's bifurcate our four quadrants: objective, measures, target, and initiatives. So my first objective under financial perspective is the increase in revenue. How will I measure it? I will measure with the percentage increase in the net revenue. For my target, I will set 10% increase in the net revenue as my target. And initiatives, I will offer competitive pricing and strategies which will ultimately result in the increased revenue. Let's take another KPI, decrease operating cost, as my objective. Measure would be percentage decrease in the operating cost. Target again 5% reduction in the operating cost. And initiative wise, simplifying my billing processes and taxes. Now let us look at some key performance indicator under financial perspective. Revenue, expenses, rate of interest, and net income. So these are my some common KPIs under financial perspective. Customer perspective. So with customer perspective, managers and companies needs to be careful as to how the customers see us. It is important to step into the customer's shoes and view your company or organization from the customer's viewpoint. So customer concerns normally fall into four categories: time, quality, performance, and service. Let us bifurcate these into objectives, measures, target, and initiatives. So my first objective is to increase the customer satisfaction. I will measure it with the percentage customer satisfaction index survey. My target is to get at least 85% customer satisfaction index every time. And initiative wise, I will offer competitive market study for my voice of customer. My second objective would be to reduce the customer complaints. How will I measure it? I can measure it through defect, percentage defect, or ppm, parts per million. My target would be that my defect should be less than or equal to 3.4 parts per million opportunities. And initiative wise, I will provide improvement in my internal processes. Some of the KPIs that I can use in this customer perspective could be customer satisfaction survey, customer complaints, and customer retention period. Next is the internal business perspective, as in what we should be best at or excel at. So companies should also attempt to identify and measure their company's core competencies and assess the internal processes and look for areas for improvement by satisfying the customers and stakeholders. Let us break into four categories: objective, measure, target, and initiatives. My first objective is to improve the internal processes. I will measure it through lead time calculation and cycle time calculation. My target is to reduce 5% lead time. And initiative wise, I will have trainings and implement preventive maintenance. My second objective is to reduce the overall cost. Cost of the quality is my measure. 2% reduction in the overall cost of the quality. Initiative wise, implementing TQM and Six Sigma initiatives. Let us look at some KPIs under internal business. We have inventory, lead time, quality control. Fourth perspective is the learning and growth perspective. Can we continue to improve and create value by training and mentoring employees on the new technologies, guiding the junior employees in the way that will help grow and contribute to the company's success? Again, the internal perspective could be the objectives, measures, target, and initiative. So my first objective is to improve employee knowledge and skill. How will I measure it? Through employee training effectiveness check. My target is that at least 95% employees should be compliant. And initiative, I will have on-job trainings and employee development plans. Second objective could be to increase employee satisfaction. How will I measure it? Through employee satisfaction survey. Target again could be 95% should be satisfied with this survey. And initiative wise, I can have monetary and non-monetary benefits for my employees. Some of the KPIs we can have under this could be the employee skills, trainings, and employee retention, employee surveys. Some pitfalls to avoid in the balance scorecard. Don't assume the cause and effect linkage to be the perfect. It is not always practically possible. Don't seek improvement in all the perspective at the same time. You can choose one or two perspective and look for improvement. Don't use objective measure to gauge the performance. Don't use too many measures. It will be difficult to manage. Finally, don't just include financial KPIs. You can also include non-financial KPIs as well. Now let us look at the ideal case of a perfect balance scorecard. First, define those four set perspective: financial perspective, internal business perspective, innovation and learning perspective, and the customer perspective. Then for those four set, define at least 3 or 4 objectives. For each objective, define 2 to 3 or 4 measures that you can measure. And for each measure, have at least 4 or 6 initiatives. And then your scorecard is ready to be implemented.